What's up everybody, I'm HoopsandHipHop. So Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee have easily been the most controversial new Pokemon games to come out in recent memory. Even though it seems like a majority of the fans are excited for the new games, the fan base is much more split down the middle than it almost ever has been when it comes to new Pokemon games. With that said though, I'm here to put my foot in the sand and tell all of the naysayers out there why Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee are going to probably end up being Game Freak's best idea ever when it's all said and done. I've got a lot of stuff to talk about here, so let's just get right into it. Okay, so the first thing we're going to be talking about here with the Let's Go games that makes them such a genius concept is their genius marketing strategy of incorporating Pokemon Go into the game. Now, the Pokemon Go integration has easily been the most controversial topic of these new games. However, whether you like this integration or not, you can't deny that it is an absolutely genius marketing technique to incorporate features from the massively popular and the massively mainstream Pokemon Go into these more main series games in order to entice those casual Pokemon Go players to maybe possibly pick up this game. Pokemon Go is obviously incredibly popular, and at its peak, it was basically more mainstream than anything else out there. So even the non-est of is non-est a word? Even the non-est of non-Pokemon fans have played Pokemon Go due to its sheer popularity, so it only makes sense for Game Freak to take advantage of this popularity by making it a part of one of their core games just to try and get some more people playing the games, because more people means, of course, more money. However, as much as it may sound like it, Let's Go is not a cash grab either. It perfectly balances the Go integration with the core functionality of the main series games to create a perfect blend that both people can enjoy. Like I said, I know there's going to be people, and there have been a lot of people who have been vocal about the fact that the Go integration turns them off to these games. However, when you look at it from an objective standpoint, there really isn't that much going on from Go that really changes that much from the main series games. Essentially, the two biggest pieces of the Go integration are having to throw the Pokeball with motion controls instead of just pressing a button, and no wild Pokemon battles. But other than this, the games are exactly the same as a main series game. Not to mention it's Kanto in HD, not to mention it's a Pokemon game on a home console that we've wanted for years, so I can't really see how people can complain. In conclusion on this first point, the Go integration is a genius way to bring in new players to the franchise, which you cannot slight Game Freak or any other video game developer for doing, because obviously they need to stay in business, and this is a great way for Game Freak to stay in business for years to come. The second thing we're going to be talking about that makes Let's Go almost as perfect as it can be is that it actually has the potential to expand into its own series. Junichi Masuda, who is directing the Pokemon Let's Go games, said shortly after the announcement that these games could actually turn into their own series if they perform well enough once they're released. And once again, thanks to Pokemon Go and the way it rolls out a new generation of Pokemon every few months, the future Let's Go games, if they ended up happening, would obviously introduce new Pokemon and new generations, and we would likely get to play through the rest of the Pokemon generations in this style, which of course means HD Pokemon games in every single region. How can you hate that? Now obviously this is a bit hypothetical, but it is a hypothetical that has been stated as a legitimate possibility by the director of these games and one of the head honchos of Game Freak, Mr. Masuda himself, so it's definitely a possibility if he says it's a possibility. And thanks to the way that Game Freak, or rather Pokemon Go, introduces their new Pokemon every so often, Let's Go will obviously be able to follow this model and sustain itself for a long time, and like I said, we'll be able to get HD versions of every Pokemon region, so I don't want to hear any complaining about that. Another thing that has been criticized about the Let's Go games is that they are appealing too much to the casual audience, and they are once again ignoring the hardcore players. However, I am going to argue that the Let's Go games are actually doing the exact opposite. Since we know that we are actually getting Generation 8 next year and it is going to be a more traditional Pokemon game, I would strongly argue, based on the way that Game Freak has talked about this game, the little bit that they have, that Pokemon Let's Go is actually intended to take all of the blow from the casual market and give them a game that is tailor-made to them, so Game Freak can have the excuse to make a Pokemon game that is completely hardcore, that doesn't appeal to casual people, and that can appeal to the hardcore players like the hardcore players have wanted for so long. When it comes to their demographic, Game Freak has always had to be very careful about striking a balance, because obviously when it comes to Pokemon, there are old players and there are young players. There are experienced players and there are novices, and these two polar opposites can be very hard to make a game around that appeals to both of them. So I believe the Let's Go games are a sign of Game Freak saying, hey, we're kind of getting tired of trying to balance these two different types of players, so why don't we go ahead and make a series of games for both of them? The Let's Go games, which hopefully will turn into a series, will appeal to the casual players, and the main series games will now start to appeal more so to the hardcore players. However, the Let's Go games still are close enough to the main series games where they can appeal to main series hardcore players, and they can get those experienced, or less experienced rather, casual players interested in the hardcore, so it won't be so hard or intimidating to make the jump later on. Essentially, the Let's Go games are going to be the sacrificial lambs, if you will, in all likelihood, and are going to take the brunt on all of these casual features, so the next main series Pokemon games next year can be the games we have always wanted, and to all of those hardcore players that are hating on Let's Go right now, you are most likely going to have to thank Let's Go for that very possibility. And finally, even if you have disagreed with everything I have said up to this point, this last fact is something you cannot dispute. And that is the fact that Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee are bonus games that we are getting that we should not be getting, and they do not affect the production of the main series games at all. When Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee were just a rumor, it was under the assumption of everybody, even the people who were leaking the games, that this was Pokemon Switch. These were the Generation 8 games that we were getting for the Switch that we have always dreamed about, and no one really was complaining about that fact when it was just a rumor. It wasn't until the games were officially announced and shown off that all of the hate started, even though literally 10 minutes after the trailer dropped, Pokemon tweeted out that the next true main series Pokemon games would be coming out next year, and that these were literally just bonus games that are being given to us by Game Freak to help tide us over, which they did not have to do. If you pay very much attention at all to the release cycle of Pokemon games, the generations usually last 3 years. You have the games that are released on the first year of the generation, then you'll have a game that is released the following year that is the Yellow, Emerald follow-up game to the previous games, then you take a year off in the second year, and then you have the new generation in the third year. And that is exactly what has happened in this generation. We got Sun and Moon in 2016, we got Ultra Sun and Moon in 2017, 2018 is this year where we're getting Let's Go, and 2019 is when the new generation starts. But there's one thing that's different about this release cycle. We're getting a game in 2018 in what would normally be the break year when we wouldn't be getting a Pokemon game at all. So the next generation of Pokemon releasing in 2019 fits perfectly with the release cycle of Pokemon that we have seen in the past. It is not being pushed back at all despite these Let's Go games coming out. So literally these are just games that we can play while we wait for the next games to come out, which is a huge favor by Game Freak. And oh, by the way, can I mention again that they're not just hunky-dory, cash grab, easy, put it out in 6 months type of games. This is an HD remake of Pokemon Yellow, the Kanto region in HD. And this is only a bonus game. Are you kidding me? So with all of that said, you can still not play these games if you don't want to. You can still not like these games if you so choose. That is your opinion to have. However, I do not want to hear any more complaining about these games because A, they are 80% a main series game, with the other 20% being genius Pokemon Go integration that will attract more players. B, these games have potential to run into a series of their own, which gives us the potential to see every region in HD on a home console, which we would not be getting any other way. C, they are home console Pokemon games, like I just mentioned, where we are seeing the Kanto region in HD. It's literally an HD remake of the Kanto region. And to top it all off, it's a bonus game that does not affect the production of anything else in Pokemon relating to the main series. Cut, print, done. And there you have it, everybody. That's why I am convinced that the Let's Go games are going to be enormously positive for the Pokemon franchise and are going to end up being one of, if not the best idea that Game Freak has ever had. I know this is a hot topic of debate though, so if you still don't agree with me, be sure to let me know exactly why in the comments below, and let me know in the comments below if you agree with me as well. Also, a like would be really appreciated on this video if you enjoyed it, because it really helps the channel out, and if you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe for way more Pokemon content each and every week. Anyways though, with all of that being said, I will be back on Saturday for a new video, so be sure to hit that notification bell so you can be notified as soon as it goes live, and until then, as always, I will smell you guys later.